Hello and welcome. Today we're going to explore a fundamental concept in Philippine civil procedure. We'll be focusing on Rule 62 of the Rules of Court, which governs interpleader. By the end of this video, you will be able to define interpleader, identify its essential elements, and understand its purpose in resolving disputes. Our objectives are to define interpleader, identify its elements, and understand its purpose. So, what exactly is interpleader? At its core, it's a legal remedy designed to protect a person who holds property or money that is claimed by two or more other people. Think of it as a shield for someone who is caught in the middle of a dispute. This person, who is not claiming the property for themselves, is called the stakeholder. The stakeholder is in a difficult position because they don't know who the rightful owner is. The stakeholder is the person holding the property, and they are not claiming it for themselves. If the stakeholder were to give the property to one claimant, the other claimant could sue them. Interpleader allows the stakeholder to avoid this risk. It's a way to avoid being sued by multiple parties over the same thing. Instead of guessing, the stakeholder can file an interpleader action in court. This action forces all the claimants to come to court and argue their case against each other. The stakeholder files a case, and the claimants fight it out among themselves. Once the court decides who the rightful owner is, the stakeholder can safely deliver the property without fear of being sued by the losing party. It's a very practical and important tool in civil law. Now that we have a general idea, let's dive into the specific provisions of Rule 62. We'll start with Section 1, which defines the subject matter of an interpleader action. Section 1 is the core of the rule. It states that whenever a person has property in their possession, or an obligation to perform, and two or more persons have conflicting claims to that property or obligation, that person may file a complaint in court. So the rule applies when you have property or an obligation, and multiple people are claiming it. The purpose of this complaint is to compel the claimants to interplead, meaning to litigate their claims against each other. The stakeholder is essentially asking the court to resolve the dispute for them. The stakeholder is asking the court to make the claimants fight it out. Let's break down the essential elements required for an interpleader action to be valid. There are 4 key elements. First, there must be 2 or more conflicting claimants. If there's only one person claiming the property, there is no dispute to resolve. Second, the claimants must be claiming the same thing. This is called identity of the subject matter. For example, they must be claiming the same car, the same bank account, or the same debt. Third, the stakeholder must have no interest in the subject matter. This is crucial. The stakeholder cannot be claiming the property for themselves. They must be a neutral party. And fourth, the stakeholder must not have incurred any independent liability to any of the claimants. This means the stakeholder's obligation must be to the rightful owner, whoever that may be, and not to a specific claimant. So to recap, Section 1 allows a neutral party holding property claimed by multiple people to ask the court to resolve the dispute, provided these 4 elements are present. Let's move on to Section 2, which deals with the dismissal of the interpleader action. This section outlines when a court can throw out an interpleader case. It states that the court may dismiss the complaint if the stakeholder has an interest in the subject matter, or if they have incurred independent liability to any of the claimants. Notice that these are the exact opposite of 2 of the essential elements we just discussed. This makes perfect sense. If the stakeholder is not neutral, or if they have a separate obligation to one of the claimants, they are not a true stakeholder. They are a party to the dispute. An interpleader is not the proper remedy. In such a case, the stakeholder would have to defend themselves in a regular lawsuit. The section also says the court can dismiss the complaint on its own initiative, meaning the court can do it even if no one asks. This ensures the integrity of the interpleader process. The court can dismiss the case on its own. So Section 2 acts as a safeguard, ensuring that interpleader is only used in situations where it is truly appropriate. Next, let's look at Section 3, which covers the complaint itself. This section tells us what the stakeholder's lawsuit must contain. The complaint must state the stakeholder's interest in the subject matter or the nature of the obligation they have to perform. It must clearly describe the property or obligation. It must also name the claimants and provide their addresses. This is so the court can notify them of the lawsuit. The complaint must identify the people who are fighting over the property. Finally, and very importantly, the complaint must describe the nature and character of each claimant's claim. This means the stakeholder must explain why each person believes they are entitled to the property. The stakeholder must explain the basis of each person's claim. This last part is crucial because it shows the court that there is a genuine dispute. The stakeholder isn't just making things up. They are presenting the conflicting claims as they understand them. Now let's consider a practical example to see how this works. Imagine a bank. Let's call it Secure Bank. Secure Bank is our stakeholder. A customer, Mr. Reyes, dies and leaves a savings account with a balance of 1 million pesos. The savings account is the subject matter. After his death, two people come forward to claim the money. One is Ms. Cruz, who presents a will that names her as the sole heir. The other is Mr. Santos, who claims to be Mr. Reyes's only son and rightful heir. Ms. Cruz and Mr. Santos are our conflicting claimants. Secure Bank is in a bind. If they give the money to Ms. Cruz, Mr. Santos could sue them. If they give it to Mr. Santos, Ms. Cruz could sue them. They don't know who the rightful owner is. They are caught in the middle. This is a perfect scenario for interpleader. Secure Bank has no interest in the money itself. They just want to give it to the right person. They also have no independent liability to either claim it. The four elements are present, so Secure Bank files an interpleader complaint in court. The complaint would name Ms. Cruz and Mr. Santos as defendants, describe the savings account, and explain the basis of each of their claims. The bank files the case. The court would then order Ms. Cruz and Mr. Santos to appear and present their evidence. The bank would deposit the 1 million pesos with the court, and once the court decides who is the rightful heir, the bank is released from all liability. The bank deposits the money and is released from the case. This example clearly shows how interpleader protects a neutral party from being caught in a dispute between others. Let's consider another example, this time involving an obligation to perform. Imagine a construction company, BuildRight Inc. BuildRight Inc. is our stakeholder. BuildRight Inc. has a contract to build a new office building for our client, Mr. Lim. The contract specifies that upon completion, BuildRight Inc. will receive a final payment of 5 million pesos. The obligation is to pay 5 million pesos. The building is completed and BuildRight Inc. is ready to receive payment. However, two different entities send demand letters to Mr. Lim, each claiming they are entitled to the 5 million pesos. Two entities are claiming the payment. Subcontractor A claims that BuildRight Inc. owes them for work done on the project and has filed a notice of garnishment on the payment. Bank B claims that BuildRight Inc. defaulted on a loan and has a lien on the payment. Mr. Lim is in a difficult position. Mr. Lim is the stakeholder here. He has an obligation to pay 5 million pesos, but he doesn't know who to pay. If he pays one, the other could sue him. The four elements are present. Mr. Lim can file an interpleader action. He would name subcontractor A and Bank B as defendants, state his obligation to pay 5 million pesos, and explain the basis of each of their claims. Mr. Lim files the case. The court would then order the subcontractor and the bank to litigate their claims. Mr. Lim would deposit the 5 million pesos with the court, and once the court decides who is entitled to the money, Mr. Lim is released from his obligation. Mr. Lim deposits the money and is released. This example shows that interpleader is not just for physical property or money in an account, but also for obligations to perform, like making a payment. Let's briefly touch on the remaining sections of Rule 62. Section 4 deals with the summons. This is the formal notice to the claimants. It states that the summons must be served upon all the claimants, compelling them to answer the complaint within the time provided by the rules of court. This is standard procedure for any lawsuit. Section 5 covers the answer. Each claimant must file an answer setting forth their claim and any defenses they may have to the claims of the other claimants. This is where the claimants present their case. Section 6 is about the order. After the answers are filed, the court will issue an order requiring the claimants to interplead with one another. This is the formal command for them to litigate their claims. This order sets the stage for the main dispute. Finally, Section 7 deals with the costs. The rule states that the costs of the interpleader action, including the stakeholder's attorney's fees, may be paid out of the subject matter of the action. This means the winning claimant might have to pay the costs. This is a way to compensate the stakeholder for having to go to court to resolve a dispute that wasn't their fault. It's a practical provision that encourages the use of this remedy. Let's conclude by summarizing what we've learned today. We've covered the key aspects of Rule 62. We defined interpleader as a legal remedy for a neutral party, the stakeholder, who holds property or an obligation claimed by two or more conflicting parties. It's a shield for the stakeholder. We identified the four essential elements for a valid interpleader action: two or more conflicting claimants, identity of the subject matter, no interest by the stakeholder, and no independent liability. Remember these four key requirements. We saw that the purpose of interpleader is to avoid multiple liabilities for the stakeholder by compelling the claimants to litigate their claims among themselves. It's a way to get the claimants to resolve their own dispute. And we walked through two practical examples to illustrate how interpleader works in real-world scenarios, one involving property and another involving an obligation. We saw how it applies to both property and obligations. Understanding Rule 62 is crucial for anyone dealing with situations where they are caught in the middle of a dispute. It provides a clear and effective path to resolution. Thank you for watching.